G'day guys, and welcome back to another adventure. This time you found Daniel and I at the back here of the Kosciuszko backcountry. We're in the Australian Alps this weekend doing a bit of backcountry snow camping, so really exciting. We're at about 1650 at the moment altitude. We're heading up to about 1900 meters this weekend. And yeah, we're out in the snow, so going to be something a little bit different for you guys, but hopefully something you can get used to, as I absolutely love the snow and I've been really excited to tick this one off the bucket list. Been wanting to do it for ages, so here we are, we're out here doing it. It's pretty rare to be able to go snow camping in Australia. It's a luxury that we can only really head out during the peak of winter for, so what a better way to close off our winter season of camping than to head out into the Kosciuszko backcountry. Really stoked. We're pretty well going to get straight into it, as we've got a pretty grueling ascent ahead of us. Still about another 300 meters to go before we get to the elevation that we want to be at, where we can start looking for camps. So we're going to get stuck straight into it. Before we do that though guys, make sure you head over, hit that subscribe button, and now you've done that, let's get into this exciting weekend of exploring out here in the Kosciuszko backcountry. So we've had some pretty insane elevation gain, and we're just heading up on top of that ridge there. Once we're up there, sort of flattens out and we'll start making some ground and looking for a spot to camp. Some pretty grueling start to the trip, but wouldn't have it any other way. The scenery out here is just magical. Well, good morning, guys. You guys may be wondering a few things this morning. Firstly, where's the snow and where are we? So last night was probably the most extreme 3.5 hours of my life, and certainly of Daniel's life as well. So last night, on the way up the side of the mountain, we were challenged to high winds as we are today, and essentially made the trek extremely difficult. However, we persevered and we found a spot to set up our tent in behind this little rock crevice. Now, we dug out a flat area to set the tent up in and began compacting the snow below it, as you do with alpine tents. And when you're setting up in the snow, it's very important to make sure the snow is compact. So we were doing that, and we began to set the tent up. Now, we didn't compact the snow below the tent enough, and in the high winds that we were experiencing there, the snow stakes actually come out, and the whole tent flew up and flew off and into this tree, and it just pierced the whole tent, making it now useless. It was destroyed. The whole tent was destroyed. To help us out even more, it was beginning to become dark, so the sun was setting and a snowstorm was rolling in, so we lost all visibility. It was pretty intense, and I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that before, so we both sort of went into a crisis mode. I think we were into 60km/h winds in that snowstorm when we were heading up, and the forecast was about for 30, which we thought may have been manageable with that particular tent. So we were sort of stuck. We managed to get the tent out of this tree. Took a lot of effort, and at that stage it was just the fly. We hadn't put the outer on, so the fly was all destroyed, and basically we were sitting. We managed to get it back down. We were sitting inside this tent for about 10 minutes, all destroyed, all cuts and everything in it, whilst getting belted by snow at 60km/h winds. And yeah, so we managed to gain our footing and pack our tent up in a massive rush, and we began trekking down the side of the mountain in this snowstorm. It was very, very intense. The winds were insane, and super lucky that we did have the appropriate gear to be able to do that. Now, the walking actually wasn't the challenging bit, it was the wind. So walking up that elevation with the snowshoes on was actually quite alright. It was just the wind was knocking us around like crazy, and by that time in the evening we were pretty exhausted. So we're starting to face exhaustion as we come down the side of the mountain. Now, we just went straight down the side of this mountain. We didn't follow our exact track back, as it would have been far longer and far more dangerous to stay at that elevation with that particular weather event happening. So yeah, that was the crazy story of last night. And now, after we got back down off the side of the mountain, took a few minutes to gather ourselves, as we were frozen. Daniel's fingers were freezing off. I couldn't feel my toes. Pretty intense. And we ended up coming back down to this particular spot. So this is Island Bend, Kosciuszko National Park, which was about 20 k's from where we were. So we were up in the mountains behind Guthiga. So we come back down here, and very, very lucky that I actually brought along 2 tents for this trip. So we originally were going to stay in the tent that we're in now. However, I managed to get my hands on a slightly larger tent just before the trip started, and so I thought, all right, we'll bring both down and we'll see which one we prefer. And we went for the more spacious option, being the 3-person alpine bunker. And so very, very lucky that I brought this expedition tent along. Otherwise, we would not have had anything to sleep in. We would have been in the car, which would have been very uncomfortable. So yeah, what a night. And here we are at Island Bend. We're not too sure what we're going to do for today, but I have to say it was very, very full on. and I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that again. Is it the end for snow camping for us? Absolutely not. I think we're just going to have to pick our days a little bit better and not go when there's so much wind. I think we both had never quantified what 30k winds would be like on top of the snowy mountain. So yeah, now we know, and we know not to do that again. So yeah, looking forward to actually doing snow camping again next year when it's not as torrential, and hopefully we don't experience the same thing. So yeah, very grateful to just be alive, honestly. That was yeah, very, very terrifying. One thing is definitely for certain, and that is that I've earned this hot chocolate, that's for sure. So these are the poles from the alpine tent that we had up on the mountain there, and you can see that they're supposed to be straight, but these ones here are completely bent from the forces of the wind last night. So yeah, definitely some extreme conditions up there. Another one that's fully bent, so this tent's probably a write-off now, and you know, if a tent like this could not withstand those conditions, that was probably pretty silly of us to try and even set it up. So wow. Just sort of a final important note on last night, and that is that you should never even remotely try doing something like we did last night, like remote backcountry snow camping, even in fine conditions, without one of these. This is a Garmin InReach. This is an SOS beacon, satellite communicator and mapping device all in one. So this actually tracked the track that we followed up, so we're able to know how to get out last night, as well as if something had have happened to one of us up there, we have an SOS button on this thing here that if we hit that button, we know that help is on the way, and that's something really reassuring about this. It also lets you contact people via text message when you're out of service. So if you did not want to hit the SOS button but you just want to let someone know where you are, this is very helpful, and it's something that I recommend to anyone doing anything like that. I would not be attempting, honestly, half of the adventures that I do. This one here, the one where we went down the creek in the Blue Mountains, those sort of adventures without an InReach, it's something that is very, very important, because if something happens to you, you know that you hit that location, SOS button, and your location gets sent to emergency services. So even though it's probably really silly of us to even attempt to set that tent up, we both admit that. We were forecasted for 25km/h winds yesterday, and we were both pretty confident with that. When we got up there, I have to say, when that snowstorm started rolling in last night, we're probably around the 65 to 100, and that was out of our control, and we didn't account for that. And having this reassurance on us gave us the confidence to be like, yep, we can get out of here, we know what we're doing, we know how to get out, we had our track mapped in, and that's something that if you had gone up there without it, you could have really been facing the worst. So very important, do not attempt anything like this without an InReach or any form of SOS beacon. It's very, very important that you have something like that. Well, that's going to pretty well bring us to the end of the craziest adventure to date, that is for sure. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope you've learned something too. Don't try and go backcountry snow camping in crazy winds. It's not going to end well. We certainly did learn that lesson today, but you know, sometimes the weather is just out of our control, so not much we could do about it. Glad we got down safe, and glad we still enjoyed our nights camping here at Island Bend, and that we had a good night still, and that we're leaving safely. So if you guys enjoyed this one, feel free to head over, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future adventures, and thank you very much for watching, guys. As always, we will see you in the next adventure.